Just the glamorous look of this ring will make you guess that it is on the pricey end. A ring was made by the popular jewelry manufacturing company, Tiffany & Company, founded by Charles Louis Tiffany. Tiffany's is known for manufacturing exquisite jewelry with the purest stones, and the appraiser noted that this could be the case with this ring, which was designed with diamond and sapphire stones.
It hasn't been heated, so it came out of the ground like that.
The guest got the ring as an inheritance from her grandmother. She was totally stunned when she heard its value.
I don't think you could replace it for under $100,000.
Thanks, Granddad. You made my day.
Thank you.
This woman's mother must have really been a fashion queen to own such exotic designer items. The lady brought some items that belonged to her mother when she was alive.
Because it's a wonderful snapshot of 4 of the major jewelry periods or movements.
The collection included a diamond brooch, cigarette case, Tiffany & Co. gold purse, and Van Cleef & Arpels pendant. Her collection was valued at $38,000.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. She'd be so pleased. She would.
Some of the typefaces we use today were designed by German graphic designer Lucien Bernhard. The guest had done some favors for Lucien and got his original art as a show of gratitude. Lucien was the inventor of the poster design style, plakat style.
His influence on graphic design and on typography is almost undefinable. He personally designed 36 different typefaces.
The artwork gifted to the guest were mostly advertisement designs for brands like Priester Matches and Manoli Cigarette.
I can see $20,000 to $30,000.
Inheriting these mesmerizing lamp bases from her husband's great aunt led this guest to inquire about details surrounding them. These lamp bases or candlesticks were made in Austria, and on the underside is a hole. The hole serves as a means to electrify the lamp in case it wasn't used as a candlestick.
So this was originally produced as a potential lamp. So you could have used this as a candlestick, or you could have used it, electrified it, and had it as a lamp.
Made between 1906 and 1915, the lamp style incorporates Viennese secessionist elements. The designs of the candlestick can be noticed all around with colorations typical of the period it was made.
Pottery table, and the coloration is very kind of typical of that area, Central Europe.
Candlesticks of this type are usually black and white, and for a unique piece like this, it would be valued at
would be $8,000 to $10,000.
You're kidding me.
No, these are wonderful.
Wow, that's amazing.
30 years ago, her father, who was a junk collector, found this 45-gauge bell in a junk pile at Winnsboro. The bell was made with bronze during the 19th century by Vanduzen and Tift, a Cincinnati firm that manufactured bells for various institutions like churches and schools. The guest inherited the bell after her father passed and revealed that it had been in her garage ever since.
There's a catalog from 1900 that exists. If you were to have purchased this at the time, it would have cost you $13. And you'd be looking at an auction estimate in today's market at between $4,000 and $6,000.
This porcelain figure, a Madonna and a child, is elegantly portrayed in pure white. The guest inherited this treasure from their uncle, and its legacy is now woven into their life for nearly 3 years. It's an exceptional quality piece resembling the Chinese Blanc de Chine style.
Symbols on the back of it.
First of all, let's look at the quality of it. For something that's white porcelain, all over white porcelain, not...
However, it's made in Germany, specifically by Meissen. The figure's intricate modeling, despite being uncolored, is highly detailed.
Fabulous quality. And that's really what tells quality when you don't have something that...
The crossed sword marks confirm that it is Meissen, with a glazed mark indicating that it was made after 1900. Despite its age, the figure is in excellent condition, with the scepter as a separate piece, aiding its survival.
The scepter was actually made as a separate object so that it allowed it to survive the process. I could see that being the first part of it.
An estimate of auctioned and retail value is...
Tell you the auction value, which if it came up at auction, would have a pre-sale estimate in the range of $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay.
Retail establishment easily at $6,500.
He traded his 1939 Chevrolet for this guitar in 1971. Was that a good call or not? The guitar he traded his car for was a 1964 Gibson Ease 335 guitar, which the owner had purchased in California. The guitar was made by the musical instrument manufacturing company Gibson. The model of the guitar was once used by popular guitarist Eric Clapton.
Keith Richards, but it was really championed and became really popular when Eric Clapton started using it, and he started using it when he was with Cream. Well, today this guitar at a retail price would be $12,000 to $12,500.
Wow.
All she could say about her necklace was that it looked like a fine piece of glass, but there is more to it than just glass.
I was looking, I said, this looks better than just glass jewelry.
The woman inherited the necklace from her mother. It was made by a French jewelry designer, Georges Fouquet. The jewelry was made with diamond and frosted glass.
I'm going to say conservatively $10,000 to $15,000.
Oh my gracious.
Yeah.
Luckily for this man, he possesses not just one, but two beautiful lamps that cost thousands of dollars. The lamps were a gift from a friend who had purchased them in New York and Los Angeles. They were made around 1905 by the popular company Tiffany Studios, which was founded by Louis Comfort Tiffany. Both lamps still had most of their original parts in place.
These are the originals, which is a very nice bonus to have. And even the original caps have a lot of value today.
Really?
A lamp like this, I would recommend putting an insurance value of $85,000. And on this one, I would put an insurance value of $45,000.
Okay.
While working as a manager in a hotel owned by the Mercury 7, his father became acquainted with many astronauts. The guest told an interesting story of how the astronaut, John Young, and his father plotted to smuggle corned beef sandwiches into space.
You've got an incredible collection of items here.
Among the items the guest brought in was a signed photo of Neil Armstrong to him and his parents, and a letter from Bartlett Shepard to his father. The entire collection of items valued at $30,000 to $50,000.
Wow. Wow.
Thanks, Dad.
This item provides proof to the claims in the controversial book Mummy Dearest by Christina Crawford. The guest's grandmother had worked as a nanny to the famous actress Joan Crawford. He brought a schedule, which Joan made his grandma follow while she worked for her. The schedule showcased how strict and over-disciplined Joan was, and provided evidence to Christina's book claims that her adoptive mother, Jeanne, was a control freak. The typed schedule, along with an autographed picture of the actress, valued at $4,000 to $6,000.
Wow, very cool.
Unlike most, this man's Buddha figure has almost all its parts intact.
I really know very little about it.
Well, this is a Chinese gilt bronze Buddha.
His grandmother got the piece as a gift from a romantic partner. The figure is a Chinese gilt bronze bodhisattva, which originated from the Indian Buddhism deity. The figure represents the bodhisattva of compassion. The owner of the piece was floored when he learned how highly its value was.
Speaking to value in a retail setting, this would be $40,000.
Wow. Had no idea. Absolutely no idea.
A table that was present during a 1959 exhibition that led to the popular kitchen debate between the United States' former president, Richard Nixon, and the former premier of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev, made its way to the Roadshow. The daughter of an industrial designer that was hired for the exhibition brought the table in. It was a modern furniture made with rosewood. The value for the table and an autographed picture of Nixon was $15,000 to $25,000.
For the photograph.
Oh, that's wonderful.
This guest's father, who worked in advertising, was among the sponsors of the first broadcast of McGemm's animated version of The Grinch, which was an adaptation of the book How the Grinch Stole Christmases by Dr. Seuss. The cartoon was aired on CBS in 1966. For being a sponsor of the broadcast, the guest's father was given a plaster Grinch statue amongst other things.
Which is really a neat statue. And what I thought of the minute I saw it, when you think of Christmas as a...
The statue received a value of $5,000 to $7,000. Once she saw this piece, she admired it and didn't hold back from letting the owner know how much she did. Few years later, the owner, who was a collector, gifted her the piece. The piece was a pottery made by Zone and Orion.
It turns out this is a collaboration between a Hungarian Art Nouveau company and a German Art Nouveau company.
The pottery was designed with a peacock metalwork roundabout. Its design was done by an artist, George Schmidt.
This is a very special thing. On today's market at auction, I would value it between $7,000 and $10,000.
Well, I love Jack, but I didn't know he loved me that much.
This item takes us back in time once more to the first adaptation of a book to television. McMahon Studios was the first to make a movie based on the book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by Frank Baum. The guest brought in one of the Winky Pipes props, which was used in the 1939 movie. He purchased the props in 1984 for $595 from an auction company in California.
These swords belonged to the guards of the Wicked Witch of the West, and 2 of them would bring in excess of $30,000.
Excellent.
By 2022, the value for these props skyrocketed to an incredible $140,000. A cup from the 17th century survived the Holocaust and World War II and has been in the family ever since.
We rarely see silver or any item.
It was one of the items the guests' grandparents took with them when they were relocating from Germany to the United States. The man's family used the cup for wine during Jewish ceremonies. It was a silver gilt piece made in Augsburg, Germany.
I would say an auction estimate would be between $2,500 and $3,500.
Okay.
After abandoning the pieces under the bed for years, the guests decided to bring them to the Roadshow to discover their origin. The items were a clock and barometer set, which was given to the guests' grandparents upon their retirement from a lodge in New York where they worked. The pieces were made in the 19th century by Caldwell and Company.
This probably was designed to go either on either side of a window or a door.
A pair are valued at $4,500.
Wow.
When members of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee rallied for civil rights back in the 60s, they probably never imagined that the photographs taken of them would have monetary value someday. The photographs were taken by the prominent photographer Danny Lyon. One of the photos was taken during a march on the same day Martin Luther King gave the well-known I Have a Dream speech. Another photo showed the congressman, John Lewis, at age 22.
Look like dorm room posters. But more than just dorm room posters, as you said, they're a piece of history. You can see with all of the prominence of the figures, with the importance of the photographer, I would estimate these 3 posters between $7,000 and $10,000. $100.
Wow. I'm flabbergasted.
Her professor-turned-friend gifted her son baseball cards, which he'd collected when he was young.
I called my dad because my dad was a huge baseball fan, and he said, "Stop what you're doing. Is there any Mickey Mantle card in there?"
They were Topps cards of many 1950s Hall of Fame players. The cards were made by the leading producer of baseball trading cards, Topps. Among the cards were that of baseball players like Sandy Koufax, Ted Williams, Monty Irvin, and Henry Aaron.
These that we selected, and you have more, but we selected just these, are worth $3,000 to $5,000.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Presented on the show is a Whiting Sterling Silver Trophy. This piece represents a tradition of excellence and achievement. Crafted by the renowned Whiting Manufacturing Company, this trophy embodies the elegance and prestige associated with sterling silver craftsmanship.
Yes. Great. I know that it was a trophy from the Westminster Kennel Club from 1883, and that's really all I know about it.
Also, the trophy's design is characterized by intricate details.
Here, the mark for Whiting, which is a company, American company, started in 1840 and then purchased by Gorham in 1926.
Owning a piece such as this is not just possessing a trophy, it is holding a piece of history and a symbol of excellence that transcends time. However, this trophy represents the pinnacle of success and the celebration of hard work, and it is valued at...
I think in today's market, you easily could be $2,500 as a retail price.
Thank you. That's awesome.
How often did you listen to the hit song, My Girl by The Temptations, when it was first released? Many will admit that the group was one of the best back in the day. A trunk which was used by a member of the group to store costumes was purchased by the guest for $500. Although the trunk looked exactly like the one that was used by the group, It needed more proof to give it provenance.
To see if any of these are in shots with them traveling. If you can find one that has this specific trunk, then you're golden.
The trunk was valued at $2,000 to $3,000.
A chair is not just for sitting, it's for making a statement. This guest brings a chair that has been in his family for over 100 years. It belonged to his grandfather, who purchased it in Europe in the 1800s. This chair was made in Venice around the second quarter of the 19th century, between 1825 and 1850. It is a beautifully designed man-made treasure. The figures on the front are known as caryatid figures.
Part of the building. Well, she's holding up the front of this chair and doing a pretty good job with her wings that are coming out and her hoof feet. And
Turning the chair reveals the lovely griffin face. It has some wear on it as it has been put against a wall and scratched. There are also some lovely scroll designs, a characteristic of its Italian origin.
the whole piece is carved wood, it's probably a lighter pine, which would be easy to carve, and then it is gessoed.
The base of the chair is made of wood. One major indication.
It's early 19th century because there's some pins, which is part of the construction that holds it together. And you can see it through the gilding here and then on the other section of the leg as well.
That this is an early 19th century piece is the construction model. It was made by Pin Construction. The whole piece is made of carved wood, probably a lighter pine, which is easy to carve. It was then gessoed before being gilded. Aside from some minor condition issues, the chair is in good condition.
Pin Construction. Now the whole piece is carved wood, it's probably a lighter pine.
It has an early French mohair upholstery done probably in the 1860s in Paris. There are Napoleonic decorations to it, all wool. This is why it is still in good condition, as wool mohair doesn't wear easily. At auction, it is valued at about
with the right decorator, he or she would be able to charge in the $10,000 range for a piece like this. I love this chair.
His mother's thoughtful gift to his father turned out to be a great investment.
So what she did was she saved $5 from her food money every week.
The guest's father loved reading children's books with illustrations, so his wife decided to get him a painting from a book as a gift. The painting was done by Frank Schoonover in 1923. It was a painting from a chapter in the book, Privateers of '76.
If this were in a gallery, I think that it would sell in the range of $125,000.
The guest recounted finding a box belonging to her father's cousin who served in World War II. The collection comprised various artifacts including a bailout map, ID cards, a logbook, glider wings, artwork, cartoons, and additional memorabilia. The appraiser detailed the relative's involvement in Operation Market Garden.
Unfortunately for your relative, his glider was captured by SS Panzer men, and half the men were killed, and he was taken prisoner.
They discussed the emergency map among the items, marking the operation's location. There was also a card reassuring the family of safety in the prisoner of war camp, a logbook of camp activities, glider wing, bracelet, and artwork depicting barracks life. Taking into account the historical significance, the appraised value was determined.
A very popular area of collecting, I would say at a retail level, probably somewhere $4,000 to $5,000 range, especially with all the other things that we're not showing.
This item was a Japanese cloisonne vase made during the Meiji period for the Western market. It was acquired by the family of the guest's wife back in the early 20th century. The vase had designs of a dragon, which is a symbol of imperial authority.
This piece was the color, the design, which Japanese art was really known for in that period, and what attracted Western collectors. Just a little bit beaten up, but by and large, it's in great condition. $300,
$350.
$350.
In 1970 dollars.
In 1970. Well, in today's auction market, this piece would be estimated at about $2,500 to $4,000.
Great.
Among the many old laws, the Laws of Montana Territory book stands out. This piece shows how laws were made in the early days of Montana. It was acquired by the guest through the estate of his wife's uncle. Quite interesting, this historical legal document outlines the laws enacted by the territorial government of Montana.
This early territorial law book It was published and printed in Virginia City in Montana Territory in 1866.
It covers a wide range of topics relevant to the government of the territory at that time. Also, the book provides valuable insight into the legal framework and societal norms of Montana Territory in the mid-19th century.
It still has its rear wrapper, but it's missing its front wrapper. But other than that, it is original and intact.
Despite its condition, this monumental work in early Montana territorial printing is an uncommon piece that's worth.
At retail, this item would fetch $10,000 plus.
Wow.
We've all heard about convertible beds, but what about convertible bathtubs? The bathtub was purchased by the owner after he witnessed how people stopped to admire it. It was made around 19th century when a genius decided to imitate Murphy convertible beds. The tub had a canister where water could be heated and run into the tub.
I mean, you can have thousands of people in one town and there'd be one bathtub. So this is pretty amazing.
The bathtub's value was $3,500. When this man's uncle was a kid, he rocked these shotgun chaps and spurs, which were made by an Italian man, Joe Bianchi.
About 3 years old, it looked like, when he was wearing these.
Joe is best known for his spurs and bits, and he served as a great influence for early Western spur makers. Acute pieces were valued at $2,400 to $3,500.
About 30 years ago, our guest stumbled upon this artwork in his new home. He acquired the piece when his parents sold the house to him.
I got it when they moved out of Chicago and they were moving to a smaller house, and some of the items in the house I acquired. That was about more than 30 years ago.
This artwork is an oil painting on canvas created by Joseph Henry Sharp. Joseph was an American painter and founding member of the Taos Society of Artists, where he was considered the spiritual father. He gained recognition for his paintings of Native American portraits and culture. This particular painting illustrates a conversation between two Native Americans.
Turns out that Sharp actually lived across the street from Kit Carson's home site. Carson moved there in 1843.
In excellent condition, this original painting, bearing the signature of one of the founders of the Taos Society of Artists, is estimated to be worth.
I would expect it to sell in the range of $400,000.
$400,000.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Yes.
These miniature bronze sculptures were purchased by our guest from an antique store. They were a present for his wife.
I found them at a thrift store, and I was actually looking for a present for my wife. And I came across these, and I said, whoa, these will make a nice present for her.
These pieces were sculpted by Bessie Potter Bona. Bessie was one of America's leading sculptors of the 20th century, known for her small bronze sculptures, mostly of domestic scenes. Her best-known large-scale work, the Burnett Memorial Fountain, was completed in Central Park, New York, in 1937. These sculptures depict motherhood and childhood, typical of the artist's style and expression. The sculptor of the mother and child is a rare type, and in the market would go for about.
So an auction estimate on this would be between $4,000 and $6,000.
Okay.
Original bronze sculptures by renowned sculptors are rare, as there are many fakes on the market now. This brings the value of these pieces to.
At auction, we'd probably put an estimate of between $5,000 and $7,000.
Wow.
Over the course of 15 years, a lady acquired photographs of the performers at Barnum and Bailey Circus, a circus show co-owned and led by P.T. Barnum. The picture collection included that of the greatest showman himself, Pete Barnum, and performers like the Four-Legged Lady, the Siamese Twins, Albino Sisters, and the Bearded Lady.
At auction, I would estimate them at $10,000 to $15,000.
Now I'm shaking.
Fans play a significant role in promoting music, art, and our guest on the show is no exception. He acquired a preliminary art piece of the album License to Ill by the Beastie Boys in 1986. The Beastie Boys were an American hip-hop rap rock group formed in 1981. The group consists of Adam Horowitz, Adam Yauch, and Michael Diamond. This art exhibits a few variations from the final album art.
The logo on the tail here has been changed to Beastie Boys, spelling it out. It's their big seminal album. I guess he wanted to spell out who it is. We don't need to hide their name anywhere.
Rare album covers hold value. but preliminary art directly from the artist carries its own significance, and this piece is estimated to be worth
One that was used on the cover, it could be as much as $10,000 to $15,000.
During his childhood, this man used to casually visit the home of the Lone Ranger lead actor, Clayton Moore, for weekend barbecues. Clayton autographed and gifted the guest's father a mask prop used in an episode of the TV series Lone Ranger.
It's one of these pieces that just kind of takes your breath away when you see it. I mean, everyone who's looked at this, I think that this is worth at least $25,000.
A few years later, its value increased to $50,000.
At first glance at this doll, and you would think it's the stuff of nightmares because it looks like a clown. Nevertheless, this doll is a prized jewel in the doll-making industry.
Now, of course, it's teddy bears that they're known for. We've got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But he's quite a rare piece, so he was only made between about 1911 and 1919.
Because it was made by a company called Tift, which are known for producing vintage, rare dolls. It was made between 1911 and 1919, and at the time was the peak in the doll industry. Today, this rare vintage doll created by Tift, with all its features, would fetch the auction price of,
And I would say £800 to £1,000.
Wow. I'll be darned.
Late 19th century piece made its way to the show. This is a Chinese jade snuff bottle gifted to our guest by one of her patients as a token of appreciation. This item is a meticulous work of art, featuring lacquer painting and shell inlays, which add to its beauty, also indicating its origin from Japan in the 1880s. This high-quality jade piece, complemented by its intricate lacquer paintings at auction, would fetch.
It will bring 3,000 to 5,000. Oh, wow. Yes.
The alluring shine from this intricately engraved gold ring is so powerful
for devotion and carried on someone's little finger
that it helps support the ring's purpose of devotion. Created around the 16th or 17th century, this ring was crafted as a symbol of loyalty to Christ, and it was to be worn around the little finger as a sign of identification. It is evident that this was created through sheer expertise evident in the engravings. As it was rare at the time to see a crucifixion depicted on rings, that elevates the value of the gold ring and increases its auction estimate to
certainly £1,500 to £2,000.
Right.
The memories of adventure on the high seas comes alive with this captivating clipper ship diorama. This clipper ship has a rich history to it.
And somewhere along the journey, it was lost at sea, and they sent out a fleet of recovery ships.
Also, this piece is a document of the history of the merchant marine in Baltimore, which is a phase of history that is past. Baltimore had the fastest clipper ships that were afloat, and this piece is a beautiful object made from the remains of this boat.
The best of American folk art, because there's so many things that are pulling together here.
However, it fits into the tradition of shadow box dioramas that were popular in the 19th century. Considering the strong family and social history connected to this piece, it's highly valued at
This piece would be valued somewhere in the range of $10,000 to $15,000.
That's great.
It's great, and I'm
My
so
father will be
glad to have
pleased.
seen it.
It's often said that fashion is subjective.
It's a swan's claw, isn't it?
Yes.
And made into a purse.
That's right, yes.
Perhaps that's the case with this swan's foot purse, which might look hideous to many, but to fashion antique lovers, it is a masterpiece. Made from the swan's claw, this purse is rare because it's not a norm to make purses using swans. A distinct feature of this purse is the claw and the lizard-like skin. Since this type of purse doesn't seem to be the norm, and as it's not appealing to most, this rare and awkwardly appealing swan's claw purse is tipped to auction at.
So, you know, we had estimates ranging from 200 to 700, so £400 is probably about right.
He acquired them through assisting a family friend with their relocation. The Nippon Porcelain Coralline Collection, circa 1910, is a prized Japanese decorative porcelain line from the late Meiji era. At the bottom, there's a note stating, "Patent applied for," followed by a number indicating the pending patent application. Patent applied for implies it was made for export to the U.S. and likely patented there. Nippon denotes Japan in the late 19th to early 20th century prior to using Japan on exports. Coralline is a technique involving glass beads on porcelain, creating a coral-like texture. One piece features water lilies, while another possibly showcases a poppy-like design. Clear glass beads were applied, melted, and fused with the body, magnifying the colors for an intriguing decorative effect. The Nippon Porcelain Coralline collection features both expert coralline technique and intricate hand-painted designs. These pieces embody the eclectic style of the Meihei period, blending Japanese aesthetics with Western influences. Collectors marveled at the Nippon Porcelain Coralline collection, with the appraiser valuing the item.
So the value for the group of three would be between $1,500 and $3,000. Wow.
This unique bracelet watch, crafted by Cartier, is a rare gem in their collection. Cartier, a French luxury goods conglomerate renowned for its opulent designs in jewelry and timepiece. Our guest inherited this watch from her grandmother alongside other jewelry. An 18-karat yellow gold watch made in 1950, boasting a unique jague le couture backward movement, which sets it apart from the ordinary.
So to actually wind and set the watch, it is on the reverse.
Although designed to masquerade as a bracelet,
Nothing. I found out it was a watch probably a year after I first laid eyes on it, and I don't know anything about it.
this piece features a discerning opening, revealing its true nature as a wristwatch. In an era where few were crafted, this piece garnered immense demand, adding to its allure and exclusivity.
Cartier from this type of era in the 1950s, they really made some of the best examples, in my opinion, of jewelry and watches that you tend to see today.
This exceptional bracelet watch, designed to mimic a stylish accessory, is tipped to auction at...
If it was to sell at auction, $15,000.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised at that type of number. It's stunning. It's probably one of the nicest of its type I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you so much.
Her interest in linen textiles and needlework led her to buy this piece that was woven by the leading textile designer in Sweden during the 20th century.
So I was thinking, gosh, this really is better than most, and got intrigued myself.
The maker's name was Marta Meas Shetterström. Marta is mostly known for producing decorative rugs from 1910 to 1930, and she was responsible for designing the rugs that were used at the Nobel Prize ceremony in Stockholm.
I would say with the popularity of a piece like this today, of somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000. Certainly worth $1 investment.
Oh my goodness.
This woman brought a plaque to the show. The plaque was given to her as an inheritance. It's verified that this piece is of German craftsmanship. The plaque has a depiction of a mythological creature and was made with a form of enamel.
It's a form of enamel. It's traditionally called Limoges enamel.
This form of enamel is made using finely ground glass and a copper plate.
Which is scored with an area where you get to see a figure, and then they put it in and they fire it up very, very hot. And it turns into this very glassy, beautiful, translucent surface.
Also seen on the plaque is a signature, detailing where it was made. A plaque of this size, with the quality of its craftsmanship, is worth...
This size and of this quality is probably worth $7,000 or $8,000. Wow.
The guest inherited a painting from their grandmother, which they had admired for years. It was signed by John F. Carlson, a Swedish-born artist associated with the Woodstock art colony. The appraiser explained Carlson's background and association with the Woodstock area, known for its snow scenes.
Carlson was an artist who came from Sweden. He was born in Sweden, but came to the United States when he was about 9 years old, and painted primarily around the Woodstock area.
They also discussed other Woodstock artists such as Ochtman and Burge Harrison, who also painted popular snow themes. The painting likely dated from 1925 to 1935 and was in pretty great condition. The exceptional artwork was on its original canvas and had not been lined. Despite being yellowed, it could be cleaned to revive its original colors, especially the snow, which would regain its whiteness. The guest was taken aback by the suggested value for the beautiful painting.
I would say for insurance value about $60,000.
Oh my gosh.
Perhaps the most surprising story you'll hear about past presidents is this story about President Gerald Ford.
I brought in a letter from former President Gerald R. Ford to my grandmother,
where he used to be called a naughty child due to his troubles. President Ford was known as the only president who was never elected, and the letter here was addressed to his teacher when he was the minority leader of the United States Senate. One could immediately notice the letter was truly from Ford with the stamped signature, which was a norm at the time. These kinds of stamps were used by minority leaders as a show of their official office. As it is a great letter which was signed by a former president, in today's market, this would auction for,
I would put an insurance value on it of $2,000. It's a great letter. It's a great family paper to have and to cherish.
Quite fascinating diploma is featured on the show today. Our guest acquired the diploma at a flea market. What is of the most importance about this diploma is the signature of a past president of the United States of America, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower, also known as Ike, was the 34th President of the United States and a 5-star general in the United States Army during World War II.
Commander of Allied forces in World War II and being President of the United States.
This signature was from when Eisenhower was President of Columbia University.
He went from Columbia to NATO to running for president.
And typical of Eisenhower's signature, we see a distinctive loop in the D of his first name. The rarity of Eisenhower's signature on this diploma, which has never been seen before, would make it auction at.
My estimate at auction would be much higher. It would be $700 to $900.
Oh my goodness.
So not bad for $3.
Not bad at
all.
all.
Well done.
On a table is this majestic-looking clock. It's a French Palissy-ware mantel clock, and it is a remarkable example of Palissy-ware, a style popularized by the French artist Bernard Palissy. Palissy was a French Huguenot potter, scientist, and craftsman, known for his contributions to the ceramic industry. The intricate detailing of flora, fauna, and other creatures on the ceramic body of the clock is truly exquisite and showcases Palissy's mastery of rustic motifs. French-made, this clock was sold in America.
The clock was retailed in America.
At the back of the ceramic of the clock is a bold insignia. Considering the craftsmanship and the good condition of the clock, it would be worth.
It would bring $4,000 to $6,000.
I guess I'll have to learn to like that guy.
I think that he obviously.
This advertising sign was the peak of traditional ads during the 20th century. Created around 1920, the idea behind this sign was innovative because, unlike traditional ads, this advertising sign was used to market 3 different products simultaneously.
Wrigley's Juicy Fruit Gum at the same time, as well as the Kimball store.
This type of sign is called a lenticular sign, and it is a kind of sign that uses a plastic lens to produce multiple images from one sheet. The goal with these signs was to draw customers in using the sign. As one of the traditional mediums of advertising, this vintage sign today would auction for.
A good advertising auction, this would bring between $3,000 and $5,000.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Emerging from the rich tapestry of fashion history is this exquisite woman's dance blanket. This piece was made by Jane Dixon Lamprombager, a revered artist who happens to be our guest's great-great-grandmother. Upon closer inspection, every stitch narrates a story of artistry.
It is a blanket, it's a woman's blanket, and it's a woman's shawl or dance blanket.
From the intricate silk applique adorning the borders to the mesmerizing arrangement and patterns of the beads. The harmonious blend of colors and meticulous beadwork renders this piece truly stunning.
These blankets are generally made by the Osage tribe, which are related to the Sioux.
With its captivating center medallion, despite the little tears which doesn't affect its value, this work of art would be valued at.
I think conservatively, somewhere between $60,000 and $75,000 for this.
Well, I don't think they can have it.
Good for you.
You would think that blankets are only used for warmth and comfort. But this blanket presented by our guest is more than that. It's a Native American chief's blanket called a third phase chief's blanket.
Well, it's called a third phase chief's blanket. And the reason it's a third phase are these stepped triangles in the corners.
Woven circa 1870, this blanket features Native American weaving style. This blanket was probably made with cochineal, which is a red dye made from the bodies of cochineal insects.
Coche beetles, you know what a prickly pear cactus is?
Yes.
Well, in the Southwest, it looks like a growth on it that's sort of a fuzzy white look.
And a plant called rabbit brush. Although this blanket has been cut and resewn, its origin of being a Native American original would make it auction at
probably between $6,000 and $8,000.
It's often thought that dolls are made for children, but the doll presented today isn't one of such. It's an automaton doll. This automaton doll is a French clockwork or music box and was made by a Frenchman named Leopold Lambert. The doll has 5 movements when played, which adds to its value.
The more movements an automaton has, the more value they have.
Featuring all of its original pieces, the doll is quite special.
There's no redressing, no repainting, there's no cracking to the paper mache.
As it also has the initials of the maker and a key used to start the music box at the back. This piece, still with all of its original features and with the fact that the music still plays, will sell for...
I would place them in the range between $12,000 to $15,000. Wow.
Passing down weird heirloom was a thing, then this locket containing King Charles I's hair would be among the very top.
And it comes with a letter that suggests that it was handed on from Charles I to his son Charles II and passed down through various noble families who then...
King Charles I was known for his frequent quarrels, especially with the Parliament. These quarrels were partially what led to his execution in 1649, and there's no way to confirm with certainty that it belonged to him. There's no way to attach a value to this unusual heirloom. Nevertheless, how much do you think King Charles I's hair would auction for? People think inheritances should always be something enormous, but that's not the case with these pieces given to our guest as an inheritance. These 3 pieces are illustrations. The pair on the left is illustrations of stories from ancient Persia.
Nizami died in like 1209, and these stories were like stories from Sasanian Persia of about 500 years before.
And is done on paper with a mineral pigment in gold. The illustration on the right is of a completely different origin, made in northern India, and on its back is really incredible calligraphy.
2 different styles with the blue borders and the gilt, and this blue was all powdered lapis lazuli.
These pieces, each of different origin and style, but with their own unique make, would go for...
This pair would probably sell for between $25,000 and $30,000. And this one here would probably sell for about $15,000 to $20,000 alone.
Wow.
Our guest's grandparents were missionaries in Korea from 1890 to 1908, and the item, a Korean matchlock gun, was purchased by his grandfather from a Korean tiger hunter. The gun is a rare find, as matchlock guns are uncommon, and the appraiser has only...
I've only seen guns like this in books.
Really?
I've never actually seen one in person.
Interesting.
Matchlock guns like this one were used before the fall of the Korean dynasty around 1911, during the Japanese occupation. The gun features a hardwood stock, a handmade barrel, and a mechanism that used a cord soaked in saltpeter to ignite this gunpowder. This type of gun was practical and effective, likely explaining why the design persisted. The gun is estimated to be from the 19th or even 18th century. At auction, this Korean gun could fetch between...
Say conservatively at auction, the estimate would be like $3,000 to $5,000 on this gun.
Right?
Marvel at the elegance of this classic bracelet. This piece was acquired by a guest while she was working at an estate auction in Florida. Dating back to the 1940s, the item is adorned with yellow and green gold pyramid links. What's fascinating about this piece is that it was made during World War II.
Really a wonderful example of what 40s jewelry was all about.
A period plagued by severe scarcity in natural resources. Additionally, the bracelet is designed in the form of a battle tank track, which was in vogue at the time of its creation. The diamonds blend seamlessly with the captivating rubies, set in resplendent gold. This bracelet embodies the essence of luxury and boasts a rich history. It would fetch an auction value of...
Could probably go for about $6,000 today.
Oh, really?
Really?
Ah, that's amazing.
This pottery bowl by William J. Wally is a striking example of his unique and unconventional approach to animate depictions and designs, which showcases a rare artistic vision.
Figural lizard of some sort. On the bottom of it is a mark which does stand for William J. Wally.
This wonderful mottled green and yellow glaze was made about 1910.
He was kind of a great eccentric. Every piece of pottery was unique. He made every piece. He threw it, he glazed it, he molded it. It was a one-of-a-kind piece.
What's so unique about this piece is the figural lizard on the side. And because this pottery is rare and esoteric, it doesn't come up often. Considering its eccentric, animated designs, this bowl stands out as a truly captivating work of art that's worth.
We believe that at auction this would bring between $4,000 and $6,000.
Amazing.
Family from Massachusetts has kept this artifact for generations.
Your family since the mid-19th century.
That's right.
And the family was from where?
From Dalton, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Okay.
Our guest presented us with a silver can from her great-great-grandmother. Of American origin, this piece was crafted by William Garrett Forbes. Forbes was a renowned American silversmith popular for his unique works in the city of New York. This can was crafted in cartouche form. It has a beautiful scroll handle with bright cut decoration. Inscribed on the base of the piece is the hallmark of its maker.
But there's something else that makes this a very, very unusual piece of American silver from the early 19th century. If we turn it over, on the bottom we have some hallmarks. But there's another set of hallmarks on this can right below the first set. And that's a gentleman by the name of William Forbes.
Unique and rare in markets today, this piece, dating back to the 19th century, has an estimated value of.
An auction value on this can would be approximately $1,000 to $1,500.
Very nice.
There's something nostalgic about old letters, just like the two displayed today by this guest. She inherited them from her great-uncle, who was a close friend of John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was an American politician who served as the 35th President of the United States from 1961 until his assassination in 1963. It is very uncommon to possess a letter personally signed by Kennedy.
Most of the Bobby things are almost always auto pen or secretarial signature.
The content of one of these letters is about an equal employment opportunity conference with Kennedy's signature visible. At auction, this piece of American history is estimated to be worth.
It's going to be about $300 to $500.
While the second signed letter referenced John Kennedy, it would fetch an auction value of.
It's going to be about $750 to $1,000.
Another item featured is a silver cigarette box, which was a wedding gift to the guest's uncle from President Kennedy. This silver piece, with its provenance, would sell at auction for.
This is about an $80 to $100 box.
Altogether, this interesting memorabilia of American history would accrue an auction value of.
It's going to be worth at auction about $10,000 to $15,000. Seriously.
The guest received a vase-turned lamp from her mother, which had been in their family for generations. Initially owned by their great-grandmother, it was later passed down to her mother. The piece was identified as Newcomb College pottery, specifically crafted by artist Leona Nicholson. The appraiser shared background about the artist's work and pointed out the mark on the pottery. It was a late glossy or carved glossy piece, showcasing exemplary craftsmanship with stylized trees and rare orange glazing. The particular piece underwent changes by being converted into a lamp, causing devaluation. Despite the alterations, the wonderful piece still held a surprisingly high value.
It's still worth, at auction, from $30,000 to $40,000.
Really?
In this condition.
When we hear Civil War, most people immediately think of the American Civil War, but only a select few people know that there was also the Mexican Civil War. This war took place between 1910 and 1920.
The volunteer group, and he was in the 134th Pennsylvania Volunteers.
We have here a Mexican War and Mexican Civil War uniforms, respectively. On the Mexican War uniform, there's a rank tag indicating a high-ranking infantry colonel.
Because it's the tall gentleman-style coat worn by the higher-ranking officer.
The same applies to the Mexican war coat, but the details on the coat are not as apparent. However, as clothing is known to degrade over time, these prized uniforms auction at.
This coat would retail somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000.
Among the treasures attributed to the acclaimed artist Thomas Sully One might anticipate a masterpiece painting, yet least expected is his very own painting table.
Designed this piece of furniture, he designed this so that he could paint and put his brushes in the top, and he had it made, and this is what he used, and I have multiple pictures of Thomas Sully.
This table features a nicely curved eagle head and paw feet. Fascinatingly, it has got a little side drawer, and it is not a standard form table.
Now, our sense of this is it should be covered in paint.
Right.
And that it should be messy, and it should look like a Jackson Pollock drip painting.
Alongside the table is a picture of Sally in the studio, with the table showcasing a formal setup. However, this rare artifact embodies the creative essence of a master artist, and it is worth.
And I know we have a limited market, but if I was to see this come up for sale, I would easily expect it to be at the kind of $5,000 to $7,000 range. Ed, you brought a part of it with you today.
Well, this is really fun. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
On the Roadshow, there's more to value than how attractive or neat a piece looks. Let's see how much value today's items have. One would look at this drawing and think that it was done by a 5-year-old. However, it was drawn by a very renowned artist, Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean had a unique form of art that was widely received and admired.
Tragically died in 1988. Here we are in September of 2017. And as for now, at a little over $110 million.
The man who owned the drawing got it from a business partner as a gift.
Well, as I said at the onset, what an amazing thing to have.
Jean-Michel worked for the man's business partner in the late 20th century. This drawing, which seems like a child's sketch, had a value so high that it will leave you shocked.
On the supposition that the work is genuine, I would insure the work for $400,000.
During the Meiji period, one of the few potters that made magnificent pieces and stood out was Kinzoken. Kinzoken had a studio in Kyoto where they made charming Satsuma pieces. The guest husband received the piece as a gift from his father.
And this is the middle period, around the turn of the century, which is just marvelous.
It was signed with Kinzoken Sakuru, which meant Kinzoken made. Let's see how much it's worth.
That actually is worth about $1,500 to $2,000. Oh!
In the movie Blade Runner, this painting hung in the house of the main character, Rick Deckard, who was played by Harrison Ford. The woman's husband purchased the painting online back in 2000 from the set designers of the movie. Like many, the couple are huge fans of the movie.
And oftentimes we say set deck's not as interesting to collectors just because it's in the background and they don't really interact with it so much, but you see it. You do see this painting. It's in Harrison Ford's apartment in the film as he plays Rick Deckard.
Let's see how much it's worth.
We would expect this to sell between $10,000 and $15,000.
Now that is really exciting. That is truly exciting.
With the way this lobster moves, it almost seems alive. But it isn't. It was actually made out of iron during the Meiji period. The precise detail and fine workmanship made the appraiser attribute the piece to Myochin, a Japanese family of armor and helmet makers.
If the Myochin were so good that it doesn't seem likely too many other people could have done one of this quality.
The guest father, who was an armor collector, got the piece during his time collecting. On the show, the piece received a $15,000 value, but by 2018, its value was twice that.
Yes.
Oh, great.
A pottery dog figure from 200 BC was brought to the show by this woman, who purchased it in 1999 from an art collector. The figure was a pregnant dog named Spot. It was made by the Colima people of Mexico. The people believed that dogs assisted the dead in their journey to the underworld. The woman's figure had appeared in many collections in the past.
She is kind of a famous dog. I was able to track her to find the old collections that she'd been in. I feel that in the marketplace today, she's worth $9,000 to $12,000 at auction.
I want to pet her.
Go ahead.
Spot, you're doing good.
The tea we drink constantly today, at very little cost, was once a luxury item. This old teapot was passed down by the guest family for generations, and she intends to maintain status quo, even after hearing its tempting value. The pot was made in the 18th century by a silversmith, Elias Pelletreau. Although Elias wasn't very famous, his pieces were fine and remarkable. The teapot's value was $20,000.
That's nice to know.
Immediately, she laid her eyes on this sculpture. She loved it and purchased it from a dealer who sold Haitian art. Angel Botello, a Spanish-Puerto Rican artist, made the sculpture in the 1980s. Angel is said to be one of the greatest Latin American postmodern artists.
He's probably the most famous sculptor in Puerto Rico.
The lady's sculpture was a seated young lady figure made with bronze.
I relate to bronze ladies, so I thought I just related to her totally.
Value placed on the sculpture was $10,000.
Okay, nice. Really nice.
An appraiser showcased his musical talent on the show by playing a guest vintage mandolin. In 2003, a man came with a Gibson F4 mandolin, which he inherited from his father. The guest revealed that no one in his family ever developed an interest for music, and so the instrument never got played, since it was acquired by his father at 15 years old. Because it was barely used, the mandolin was still in great quality. Let's see how much it's worth.
And the other thing that amazed me was how wonderful it sounded. This would definitely be worth at least, say, $3,000 to $4,000.
All right, terrific.
Pretty good for sitting around the house, huh?
Oh, yeah. Won't be sitting around the house much longer.
A descendant of the family painted in this portrait brought it to the Roadshow to discover who the painter was. It was revealed to her that the painting was done by an American artist, Jane Anthony Davis. Jane mostly made paintings using watercolor and pencil. The family's painting was inscribed at the back with the names of the sitters, where and when it was painted.
So this is an incredible family document and a wonderful example of a rare woman artist.
A value between $25,000 to $35,000 was given to the piece.
That's very nice. My husband will be very surprised.
Most times on the show, we see children bringing in items that belong to their parents. However, in this episode, it was vice versa. A man brought in a pair of vases that belonged to his daughter, who had bought them during an estate sale. They were made by Charles Clewell, a metalworker who crafted pieces out of metal.
The curious thing about Clewell is when he died, he instructed his heirs to burn his formula.
Oh, really?
So that it couldn't be replicated. But I think individually they have to be worth at least $3,000 to $4,000 a piece.
My word, we had no idea they was worth anything like that.
After a relative passed away, they found an album full of paintings and a letter, which explained the friendly relationship between the artist and their relative. The artist's name was Alfred Bastien. Alfred was a Belgian artist who made artworks like Panorama de IJzer, which was 115 meters long. The guest album contained a total of about 160 paintings of landscapes in various regions.
What a splendid album, full of splendid drawings, if I may say.
A value of $12,000 to $15,000 was placed on the album. A collection of baseball items that belonged to Les Nunemaker was brought in by the player's great-great-nephew. Les played baseball with various teams, including the Boston Red Sox. His collection had a lifetime baseball pass, cufflinks, a championship medal.
It's truly a remarkable collection of things, and what a wonderful thing to have in your family. It's just amazing. And looking at the whole collection here, I would insure this for no less than $25,000.
I got a tear in my eye.
And more. By 2018, this collection had almost doubled in value to $45,000. This bronze cat sculpture has a naughty side to it that no one will ever suspect at first glance. It has an enclosed space where an unclad lady figure hides. The sculpture was similar to the pieces made by Franz Bergmann. However, Bergman usually signed his pieces with the name Namgreb, and the guest item didn't have a signature. Even though this piece was a reproduction, it had a fair value.
Is $2,000.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yes, it is.
To get the complete message of these paintings, both of them had to be placed side by side. Paintings are diptych, which were made by Achille Glicenti, an Italian painter notable for his Orientalist paintings. The owner of the paintings got them at a flea market for $100. With the common occurrence of diptychs getting separated, the owner was lucky to have been able to lay his hands on both. Let's see how much it's worth.
And often we don't see that. Often they'll be separated at birth for whatever reasons. But auction, I would estimate them at between $2,000 and $3,000. And for insurance, I would suggest an insurance value of $5,000.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
Sorry to interrupt. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks in advance. Now, let's move on to the rest of the video.